Hello everybody, and welcome as we continue on our journey with the saints during this period of lockdown. The subject of the short reflection today is Saint Francis Xavier Cabrini. Francis Cabrini was actually baptised Maria Francesca Cabrini on the 15th of July 1850. Actually on the day of her birth. She wasn't expected to live. She was one of 13 children and was raised in a very happy family. Her health, as we've said, was very poor, but it seems as though it was generally very poor in the family, as only 3 of the 13 Cabrini children were to reach adulthood. It was from a very early age that she knew she wanted to join the religious life. Her father, who would often beguile the family with stories about the East, China in particular, and it was this, I imagine, that led her to believe that her religious life would be spent in China. But as we'll see, at the intervention of a pope, her mind was to be changed. She trained as a teacher and indeed was so well respected that she was asked by the local bishop to take over the diocesan orphanage. While in charge of the orphanage, she found that 5 fellow teachers also had thought about the religious life. So Maria Francesca, taking the name of Sister Francis Xavier, took her vows with her 5 companions and asked permission as Mother Superior of the new order to be called the Missionary Sisters of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. But she was told that she couldn't be the Missionary Sisters, as women couldn't possibly be missionaries. But being the fighter she was, she eventually succeeded, and the new order began its life, caring for the poor children in the orphanage. She was asked by Pope Leo XIII to go to America, but still thinking her vocation and those of her sisters was to China, she resisted the Pope, but his advice was not to the east, but to the west. So it was on March 31st, 1889, that she and her companions arrived in New York. But life was to be anything but easy. The house originally intended for an orphanage was no longer available. It had been given to someone else. But she didn't give up, even though the Archbishop insisted that she and her companions return to Italy. She refused, and eventually Archbishop Corrigan found them housing with the Sisters of Charity. Eventually funding was found, and the orphanage opened in what is now known as St. Cabrini House, and still a functioning institution. Filled with a deep trust in God and blessed with an amazing administrative ability, she was to go on to found 67 institutions, including orphanages, schools and hospitals dedicated to caring for the sick, the poor, the uneducated and the abandoned. This was especially for the Italian community. When she first arrived in New York, she was amazed to discover that there were 55,000 Italian immigrants living there, many of them not speaking any English and very few receiving any teaching in the faith. Her institutions were to spread wide over the USA, It's still practiced in many numerous states today. She was to become a naturalised American citizen in 1909, and she died aged 67 on the 22nd of December 1917 at one of her own hospitals. After having two miracles attributed to her, first, she restored the sight of a child believed to have been blinded by excess silver nitrate, and the second miracle, the healing of a terminally ill member of her congregation. She was to be beatified in 1938 by Pope Pius XI and canonised by Pope Pius XII in 1946. She was the first US citizen indeed to be canonised, and we celebrate her feast day on December the 22nd, and she is of course designated for the obvious reasons as patron saint of immigrants. Throughout her life, her motto was, "I can do all things in He who strengthens me," taken of course from St. Paul's letter to the Philippians. St. Francis Xavier, Cabrini and companions, pray for us.